What is up, my Dragon Ballers? So I've just seen the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie the other day, and it was incredible, amazing, surpassed my expectations in every way in terms of, the character development with Broly, the animation quality, the fight scenes. Just, it was so much more better than I could have ever imagined. And honestly, if you haven't seen the movie yet and you call yourself a Dragon Ball fan, what the hell are you doing? Go to your nearest cinema or something. Find a way to watch that movie, because let me tell you, this is actually a landmark in terms of Dragon Ball history. I mean, before this, my favorite movie was History of Trunks, but honestly, this movie has actually gotten the golden medal for me now. It's number one. So I'm going to be doing a breakdown chronologically from the movie of little subtle hints that were included that maybe you would have not have realized first time around, what I liked about the new changes implemented in comparison to the Bardock, the father of Goku, and the original Broly movies. I'll be making some small comments on the animation and what I thought of it, and I'm also going to be including some things that maybe I thought could have been a little bit better or a little bit more clearly explained, but it takes nothing away from the movie, in my opinion. And yes, I'm saying it as a biased Dragon Ball fan. 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100, 9,000 out of 9,000. Of course, the first person I have to mention is the daddy of Goku, Bardock. I mean, he's not only one of my favorite characters, but he was also one of my biggest concerns when it came to how different he was going to be from the original movie. But I'm pleased to say I'm very, very happy with how he was portrayed. I love the fact that they still kept his tough, Saiyan warrior personality somewhat in check. But, I also like the other side of him, the side that actually, cares for his family. And I think this is due in large part to the introduction of Gine, Goku's mother. This was something that was not really included in the original movie. He kind of, he only really cared about Goku in the end when he realized he's going to be the one to defeat Frieza. But there was no real sort of chemistry between them. I also love the fact that they made Bardock the only Saiyan to actually clock on to Frieza's plot. I mean, of course he didn't know exactly what Frieza was going to do, but he did have some sort of suspicion, because, I mean, who wouldn't, realistically speaking, if Frieza's recalling every Saiyan to the planet, you're not going to be like, oh yeah, I wonder what Frieza wants, maybe he's going to give us a medal or a birthday cake or something. No, he's going to blow up your fucking planet, bro. And, I was kind of worried that it was just going to be like, okay, he knows that Frieza's going to do something, so he's going to send off, Goku, and he's just going to kind of just take it. But no, they showed him fighting, as inevitable as it was, they still showed him with the energy blast and, kind of just going out like a warrior, a true warrior that he was. And even going back to the scene where Goku gets sent off by Bardock and Gine, I just really love the fact that it was Bardock's decision to send Goku to Earth, and not with the purpose of destroying the planet, but actually because he wanted him to be safe. He didn't want any harm to befall him, and he knew Frieza would overlook Earth. So all in all, I'm very satisfied with how they portrayed Bardock, and even the introduction of Gine was long overdue. I mean, I always wondered who Goku's mother was, and I know she was in Dragon Ball Minus, but this finally makes her canon. And it would just be interesting to see, perhaps in the future, if Goku ever meets them, perhaps in the other world, just what the interactions would be like between the different characters, because Goku, he never showed any interest in getting to know or finding out who his true parents really were, and, he probably assumed that they were evil Saiyans, so that kind of probably stopped him from caring. Another little hint that, maybe some people overlooked was the scene where, there's little Vegeta, little Raditz, and Nappa. Did nobody notice that there were other Saiyan survivors along with them? I mean, who the hell are these guys? I mean, what happened to them? I mean, I assume they died in future battles, but I think it's important to note nonetheless, because in the original story, we assumed that it was only Goku, Nappa, Vegeta, and Raditz that survived. So this is kind of interesting to see. I was also kind of disappointed with Raditz and the fact that he didn't really show any care or interest in the fact that Goku had survived. I thought maybe there could be a little bit more development on that, but either Toriyama really doesn't like him or Raditz is just a dick. Now moving further along in the movie, I really love Beerus's relationship with the main cast. I mean, if you compare from when he was first introduced to the series to now, I don't even think he's realized himself how much he's changed, you know, how much more of good he's becoming. I think he never really had anybody talk to him on an equal level because of his god status, and now it's like he has Bulma throwing Bulla onto him like, yeah, here, you're the babysitter now. And even with that, I mean, I'm really hoping, but I kind of do see it as well, a sort of Piccolo Gohan relationship with Beerus and Bulla. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen later down the line, but it's something that I think could be a possibility. Now moving on to the star of the show, the main man himself, Broly. I really love how they've developed this character. You know, they've given him a lot more of a fleshed out backstory. You know, and if you compare it to the original Broly movie, it's so much more better. I mean, yeah, the idea of Broly being the legendary Super Saiyan was cool, but when you actually looked at the character himself in the original, it was just like, ugh. I mean, yeah, I hate Kakarot because he cried when I was a baby, and, you know, that made me cry, so now I gotta kill him. Like, it really just didn't make any sense. Something I was really surprised by was the fact that Broly is actually so innocent. I mean, I was expecting, because of his power, he was going to be this kind of uncontrollable figure, and he does have that element to him, but it's not like his mind is completely broken. He does have, you know, his normal mode, we will call it, like where he's calm, he's collected, he has his own morals, his own thoughts. I would even go so far as to say that he's even more innocent than Goku. You know, and the fact that he's been isolated for so long, he's going to be exposed to so many different things now that he's going to be hanging around with Goku, so it's going to be really entertaining to see how he reacts to it. Now, moving on to Broly's power and abilities, I thought it was amazing how Toriyama reintroduced the ideas of using the power of the Great Ape. And, you know, he's really kind of invented something new, because the fact that Broly's able to harness the ability of the Great Ape while still being in his normal form is uncharted territory. I mean, it might be something that Goku and Vegeta may utilize in the future, you know, because of course they're going to be training with each other and giving each other different tips. So maybe this might be a new way for the Saiyans to actually take on future opponents, who knows. And when I say Saiyans, I think this is only applicable for the Universe 7 Saiyans, because as we know, the Universe 6 Saiyans have evolved, or I guess some would say regressed, because now they're unable to grow their tails, so they can't turn into the Ozaru Great Ape form, which means they'll be unable to utilize this little trick. And it's something that makes sense. It makes sense why Broly is able to take on Super Saiyan Vegeta, for example, because I believe the Great Ape multiplies your power level by 10, and Broly by far has the highest base power level out of all the Saiyans, because up until this movie, he never transformed into a Super Saiyan. So for his whole life, he's been training, increasing his base power level. And then when you finally see Broly turn Super Saiyan, come on guys, he beat the crap out of Goku Super Saiyan Blue. Let's not deny the facts. I mean, it was pretty even up to a certain point, but Goku did lose that fight. But that touches on to another thing I wanted to point out. The fact that throughout this entire movie, Goku did not go Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. And Vegeta did not use his Ultra Blue, whatever you want to call it, at all. I don't know what the reason was for this. Probably because, you know, they wanted to introduce Gogeta, or maybe it was because it wouldn't have made a difference. I think Broly was literally that powerful that it wouldn't have made a difference, because if people are saying that he's stronger than Jiren, and Jiren could handle both of them in those forms, then it's pretty much self-explanatory. Now, before I move on to the Broly Gogeta fight and, you know, the potential of Broly later down the line, I just kind of wanted to talk about Paragus for a little bit, because, you know, at the end of the movie, I was very conflicted on how I actually felt about Paragus. Whether I felt sorry for him or whether he deserved, you know, his fate. Because in the movie, they were kind of given the impression that what Paragus was doing to Broly was barbaric. But if you think of it from a logical point of view, if he never ever found a way to control Broly, Broly would have gone crazy. He would have probably blown up the planet with the amount of power that he has. And it wasn't necessarily like Paragus was a bad father. I mean, he went back to the planet to rescue his son, and he does teach him manners, for whatever that's worth. But at the same time, when you look at his character, he's not necessarily a good person, because for one, he was so fixated on revenge, even willing to take revenge on King Vegeta's son, Vegeta, who really had nothing to do with what happened. Furthermore, something which I didn't forget, I found actually really shocking to see in this movie, was the fact that Paragus kills his subordinate just for the sake of rations, and what was really the point, because you ended up eating bug juice anyway. So when you put all of this together, it really gives a certain type of complexity to Paragus's character, something which is not really common in the Dragon Ball series. I mean, I did know that his death was inevitable, and I think it's actually kind of necessary to allow Broly to have his freedom and to kind of progress more as a character. And as funny as it was to see Frieza kill Paragus in a similar fashion to the way that Paragus killed his subordinate, Karma, it was also somewhat underwhelming, because I thought that Paragus's death was going to take a sort of different direction or be for a different sort of reason. I know that Paragus did state that he didn't really care about the fate of Planet Vegeta and what happened to it, but it doesn't rebuke the fact that he got lied to on what really happened. So I believe that his death was going to be because maybe Vegeta would have told him the truth, that it was actually Frieza who destroyed the planet Vegeta, and this would have perhaps, made him angry and perhaps go against Frieza, and Frieza would have just silenced him there and then. One thing I did like on Paragus's part was his reaction to Vegeta transforming into a Super Saiyan. He was like genuinely surprised, like, wow, this is the legend. Now with Super Saiyan Blue and Super Saiyan God, this normal Super Saiyan transformation doesn't really get a lot of attention. But I think in this movie, they really gave it, the hype that it deserves. However, on that same note, I was kind of disappointed in the fact that nobody really gave or paid any attention to the fact that Broly is the legendary Super Saiyan. Nobody said anything of like, wow, his hair's green, when he transforms later on. Maybe it was because of the fact that Goku and Vegeta were already Gogeta at that point, and things were kind of a mess. Maybe it'll get mentioned later on down the line, but I thought it would have been something that would have got mentioned at least once. Something else which I found very interesting, and it was new to the series, was the fact that Goku, for the first time that I've ever seen, used telekinesis. He paralyzed Broly while he was in the Super Saiyan God state. Now, I've seen Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, even GT, and not once have I ever seen Goku use that ability. Since Super Saiyan God is all about ki control, it probably attributes to that. But, it's one of the many mysteries that Super Saiyan God form has, along with the healing and whatnot. So, yeah, I thought it was interesting to point out. Without a doubt, one of the funniest moments of the movie, though, was when Goku and Vegeta are failing the fusions, and Frieza is just there getting pounded by Broly for a solid 1 hour. I mean, at that moment, everyone in the cinema started to burst into laughter. And I have to say, the experience in the cinema with everyone was really, really cool. I'd never watched a Dragon Ball movie in a cinema, for one, but to have all the fandom united and, laughing at the same bits, it really kind of proves that Dragon Ball has one of the best fandom out there for sure. Another hilarious part I found in the movie was when Gogeta appears in front of Frieza and he's like, "Who are you?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, you haven't been around in a while, so you don't know about fusion, but yeah, the gap is getting wider." And then Frieza's just like, "Not fair," like a little stubborn child. And I think at this point he's realizing that, it's going to take a lot more training if he ever wants to reach their level. Another hilarious moment was when Broly went for Whis, and it really stays true to his character, the fact that he doesn't know anything about gods of destructions, angels. Everything is new to him, so he doesn't have any care in the world. He went straight for Whis without realizing how powerful he actually was. Now, talking about the Broly Gogeta fight, I think Well, it was amazing visually. The animation in this whole movie was spectacular. I mean, there were some moments where it was CGI, and to be honest, I'm not really a fan of CGI, but it didn't really bother me in this movie because it wasn't really prevalent. And even there was this moment where the camera pans to Broly's first person vision, and it was something that's I've never seen before, and I was quite confused at first, but I did enjoy it, you know, seeing him ram Goku's face into a mountain. And one of the strangest bits of the movie is when Broly's energy beam and Gogeta's energy beam clash, and it's like they've broken the fabric of space and time, like they're in another dimension. I think that's kind of hinting at something that's going to be probably more explained later down in the future in the series. The fact that, you know, they've reached a level of power now where it's actually defying the laws of physics. It kind of reminded me of the moment where Whis said that if gods of destructions were to ever face each other, then it would basically mean the end of the universe, or if not, it will start to erase the universe, something to that effect. So I think that is really showing that at that moment Broly and Gogeta were at God of Destruction level. And that really just goes to show how much potential Broly actually has, because if he's already at God of Destruction level at his, you know, legendary Super Saiyan state, what is he going to be when he finally reaches Super Saiyan Blue? Because you know that Goku's going to teach him, because he's going to want better control of his power so he, you know, doesn't become a danger for anyone. So when he does finally reach that level, I mean, I'm going to go so far as to say he might be reaching the level of angels potentially in terms of power, not particularly in terms of technique, but in pure power. And now towards the end of the movie, I was really confused with the fact that Frieza still seems to think that he can get Broly on his side. You know, I don't think personally that's hinting at anything. I think Frieza is literally just deluded, because it seemed at the end like Killai, Lemo and Broly, it seemed like they were their own little faction, their own little group, which I kind of liked, you know. I didn't think I would like it, but the fact that, yeah, they've got their own planet, they've got their own space. It's not necessarily, you know, Broly's going to join the Z Fighters, because really he has no relation to anyone apart from Goku and Vegeta and the fact that they're Saiyans. So all in all, the movie was amazing. It surpassed my expectations in every avenue, and it's just left me desperate to see the next season of the Super Series. Thank you for taking the time to watch my review. If you liked the video, like, subscribe. If you've disagreed with anything I said, you have any of your own theories, or if I've missed out something important, please don't hesitate to comment. Stay super, my Dragon Ballers. Peace out.